Need to get rid of my truck. You interested in making an offer? And he kind of leans around me, looks at it for a second, real slow, and he says, well, it's on fire. I turn around, and there's just smoke billowing out from under. So with the recent tragedy of Peanut the Squirrel, I thought it'd be fun to tell a few stories a day of my own experiences involving squirrels. So the first one started way back in high school. And at the time, I probably had the highest paying high school kid job you could have, which was to be Nuts the Squirrel for a country radio station. The town adjacent to mine, there was this country station. Their mascot was a squirrel, and they paid me $25 an hour, which back then was like making $200 an hour, to dress up as a squirrel and go to car shows and do things like that. And it was kind of like like the Disney characters, the big foam head and the little outfit and all that. And I always had a good time going to car shows, checking out cars. I had big mitten hands, so I didn't scratch anything, touch them all or whatnot. One time, there was a squirrel roadkill incident, and it actually involved me. They had this big jacked up Chevy Blazer, and they would run it in parades sometimes. And this was a particularly long parade, and it was in the middle of summer, and I was kind of hot. So I'm standing on top of this big jacked up Blazer, and I'm up there, my little squirrel suit, doing my dances and my little hands and all that. Somebody, I think it was little kids, somebody was like giving out candy further up ahead, and the kids were now throwing the candy at me in the squirrel suit. And of course, I've got the big like happy head on, but you can't really see my inside face, which is like, So at one point they had winged me particularly good with some candy, and as I'm standing trying to find the kid who hit me with the candy so I could go find him later, the horses or whatever in front of us, everybody stopped in the parade. They hit the brakes, fell off the roof in the squirrel suit, onto the hood, off the hood, 5 feet down to the ground, almost landed in some horse poop that the clowns hadn't cleaned up yet, and almost got run over by the Blazer. So therefore, I was nearly my own squirrel roadkill. The other time squirrels impacted my automotive experiences was in high school, and this was back in the early 90s, and I had the typical awful 90s lowrider truck that a lot of people did, and I loved mine. It was beautiful. But it came time to go to college, and I could not keep this truck any longer. And I had worked on it, done all these things, shaved the door handles, built a tonneau cover, lowered it, did this cool wraparound front grill, all this kind of stuff on it. Loved this truck. But I needed to let it go, and this is back in the days before eBay Motors and Marketplace. You just had to pretty much either put a sign on it in the window or just drive around to used car lots. And I was kind of desperate. So I drive around to a used car lot. I walk up, and the old guy sitting on the front porch there, and I walk up and I say, need to get rid of my truck. You interested in making an offer? And he kind of leans around me, looks at it for a second, real slow, and he says, well, it's on fire. I turn around, and there's just smoke billowing out from under the hood of the truck. Of course, I run over there, I grab his fire extinguisher, pop the hood, put the fire out. It turned out a whole family of squirrels had made a squirrel condominium up under the hood of my truck, which I had not looked at in a while. And they got in there and chewed up some wires, and just somehow, naturally, pulling into the car lot was that final bump I needed to cross a couple of wires and catch the leaf bundle on fire where the squirrels had made their little squirrel condominium. So, in a very undignified puff of smoke, there went my beautiful lowrider truck and my hopes of paying for some college by selling it, all thanks to some squirrels. But it wouldn't be that much longer, though, that a squirrel would cause me to have a pretty exciting automotive experience in the fact that I got arrested because of a squirrel and got hauled to jail in like the fire department police car. So I'm in college, and I walk out after dinner one night in the dining hall, and it's still kind of early in the year, the sun's still up. And I'm talking to this girl. She's a nice girl. I'm trying to chat her up. And as I'm talking to her, she's kind of looking at me, but I notice she's kind of looking over to the side, and her eyes are kind of going like up. And I kind of turn around to see what she's looking at. And there's a squirrel going up the wall of the dormitory. The architecture was this kind of little route, like a row of bricks, went like 9 stories up. And he's just shimmying his way up, and we're just kind of watching him, and he gets all the way to the top, like 9 stories up, and there's a bit of a ledge that goes out, and of course we're standing there watching him, and as other people filed out, there's 2 people standing there looking up. They start looking up, so now there's 8 or 10 of us all looking up, watching this squirrel just climb the building. And he gets to the top, and he gets to the ledge, and he actually can't jump out, so he turns around, and you see his little body, his little tail just whips around, and he gets all excited. He kind of spins around, and he just clings onto the building, and we're just like, oh man, his little arms are going to get tired. He's going to fall. And at the time, I don't understand about survivable terminal velocity and little animals can float to the ground. At the time, we just think, oh my God, we're 18. This squirrel's going to fall to his death. It's horrible. What can we do? So we're standing there watching him. And again, it's after dinner. So more and more people are coming out. Now there's 30, 40 people out there. And somebody's like, somebody do something. So, I'm okay. I'll be the guy. So I got my motorcycle. So I've got my motorcycle glove. So Like, all right, I'm gonna go into the roof. I'm gonna reach over. I'm gonna grab the squirrel. I'm gonna carry him down, let him go in the bushes. It'll all be good. So I go inside and I say, hey, there's a squirrel kind of hanging off the ledge upstairs. Can I get on the roof and get the squirrel? They're like, nah, nobody but the fire department and maintenance can get on the roof. I'm like, okay. So I said, well, what's maintenance number? Well, they're already closed for the day. All right, fine. Fire department it is. So go back outside, and this is in the days of payphones. So I go to the payphone, and it's not a 911 thing. So I dial 0 and get the operator, and I say, hey, I just need to talk to like the fire department, but it's not an emergency. She goes, well, their line's closed for the day too. You got to just call 911, tell them it's not an emergency, and they'll patch you through. All right, cool. So I dial 911. There's 75 people now standing outside watching the plight of this poor squirrel. So I get 911 on the phone. I said, hey, this is not an emergency. I just need to get patched through to the fire department. They're like, okay, no problem. Can you tell us the situation? I said, well, look, there's a squirrel hanging from the ledge of the dormitory, and we're all afraid it's going to fall. I just need to get somebody to go up there with some gloves, reach over, let him go. There's a bunch of girls watching. I kind of committed to solve this problem now. They're like, yeah, no problem. We got you. So I hang up the phone. It's not 30 seconds later. I can hear, this is in downtown Athens, Georgia. I can hear like sirens kind of downtown, and that's not an unusual thing. And a few seconds later, I can hear sirens down in 5 Points. I can hear sirens over in Baxter Street. And I'm just thinking like, man, there must be a big fire somewhere. I hope somebody will still have time to come get this squirrel. Well, it didn't. A minute later, fire truck comes blowing in the parking lot. Police car comes blowing in the parking lot. Ambulance, another fire truck. The big fire truck, the one like the guy drives in the back. All these, just everything comes flying into the parking lot. There are firemen running everywhere. They got like the regular car with the guy with the bullhorn, I guess, for a jumper. They got like the little net thing. Like, it's just pandemonium all of a sudden. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to jail. I know exactly what has happened here. At some point, the 911 operator who has called the fire department said, you know, there's a squirrel hanging from the top of this dormitory, and somebody heard girl, which sounds an awful lot like squirrel. So amongst all the cacophony of sirens and lights, the squirrel, who's been hanging up there for a good 20 minutes at this point, suddenly gets like this divine intervention, divine inspiration. He turns around and somehow runs all the way down the building. We were just worried about him falling off. Right in front of him, of course, everybody's still watching the squirrel. He runs down, jumps into the bushes, right in front of me. Like these firemen, they're all looking around, looking up, looking around. Just, I'm kind of on this little rise up some steps, just kind of grabs this girl by the shoulder and goes, where is she? And the girl's like, in the bushes. Like she had just seen the squirrel jump in the bushes. The firemen are like, they tear up this split rail fence. They're digging through box shrubs. They're like, I mean, they think, I'm like, oh my God. I find somebody that looks like they're in charge. This is the guy with like, it's like the Caprice with like, it's like a police car, but it's red with the fire department, the red lights and stuff. And I find somebody, I'm like, I'm the one that made the call. I think there's been a big misunderstanding. So I get cussed out by the fire department. I get cussed out by the police department, a couple of ambulance drivers, a few psychologists, who else? I get yelled at by a bunch of people. And they're like, well, you're going to jail. I was like, what did I do? Call you to check the tape. They're like, you made a prank 911 call. I was like, I didn't make a prank 911 call. I said it was not an emergency. Somebody else got confused. They're like, well, you're going to the station right now. I was like, well, all I got's a motorcycle and it doesn't run right now. They're like, well, you're going with us right now. So like the police, for whatever reason, put me in like the fire department police car thing, which doesn't have like the divider. Usually the times I've been in a police car, there's like a divider and all that. So now I'm just in the car. It's got all the radios and stuff. And two very, very angry like fire department administrative people drive me to the police station where I get interrogated for an hour and a half. And finally I'm like, pull the tape. They're like, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, pull the tape, pull the tape. And eventually they did pull the tape where I very clearly said, this is a squirrel. This is not a girl. We just need a guy in a pickup truck and some gloves and a key to get on the roof. And it all went away. So I get back to my dorm and, of course, everybody watched me get marched off by the cops and hauled away in the police fire department, police car thing. So for the next week, my answering machine, again, back in the days, the answering machine, I'd get back from class, I'd hit a button, it'd be like, boop. And somebody would say, oh my God, there's a moth in my room. I think he's going to fly in the lamp. Call the 911. And boop, oh my God, there's a chipmunk out here. I think he's going to drown in the pool. Call the police. And so, yeah, I got made fun of. But one day I was in the elevator, though, and there was these two girls in the elevator, and they were like, are you the guy that went to jail for that squirrel? And I was like, yes, I am.
This month, the VINwiki Car Stories is brought to you by Extreme Experience. They give you the chance to get behind the wheel of the greatest supercars on earth at the most amazing racetracks in America. I know you'll love it. I just got the chance to drive their brand new Ferrari 296. I hadn't had the chance to drive the car. They had it in town. It was the perfect way for me to experience a great new car. But whatever your dream car is, you can drive it with Extreme Experience. It's also the perfect holiday gift for the car lover in your life. So check them out now at the link in the description below. Ferrari, Lamborghini, McLaren, Porsche, all of it. So check them out now at the link in the description below to book your next drive with Extreme Experience.